All right, Ritesh, I get it by now. I get why you should be a founder. I get how to come up with an idea and how to validate it with 100 and 150 users and be convinced. I get how to turn a bad idea into a good one. But what I don't get, I have the idea. Now what do I do next? How do I get money? How do I get investment? How do I pitch it to investors? And most importantly, how the heck do I get employees or teammates to help me make that idea into a reality?
Remember, great companies can never be built by one person or have never been built by one person. So begin by wanting to talk about the idea to at least a few people around yourself who you trust will give you honest feedback about the challenges, questions, and problems that you have. Once you know that, try and write it down. I think for a founder and an entrepreneur, writing is a highly underappreciated skill. At Amazon, I'm told every meeting starts with a memo, which is a 2-pager or a 3-pager memo that one needs to write and everybody reads it together. So I encourage you to write down what you find exciting about the idea that you want to pursue. How do you explain it in 2 or 3 lines if you need to? Once you know that, you should write a few important questions that you would have asked if somebody else pitched you this idea. What's the competition like? Why would you be successful versus anybody else? Would you even make money doing this? Will people pay you for this? Why are you the first person who will try and make this happen? If somebody else tried it, why did they fail? A lot of these questions will come about, and you may not have the answers for this. But attempt to write this for the first time. Well, now that you have figured out the first bit of being able to talk to enough people, you have written down in your pitch. Now goes last 2 and probably the most important steps. Being authentic and real. Remember, people are going to take big decisions by trusting you. They're going to leave a job that pays them probably a lot better than it does today. They're going to leave many other opportunities and invest their hard-earned money with you. Given all of this, trust is critical, and for trust, authenticity is extremely important, which means in your documents, try and make sure as many things as you can put that gives a sense of reality, the better it is. Let me try and share examples of those. I wrote in my earliest pitch documents what one of the holiday home owners told me worked for them and what did not work for them. This is something that's much easier to digest when you think Mr. X told me that their hotel were having these 3 problems. It just makes logical sense. People can believe it a lot more. Check your writing and ensure it is authentic and linked to reality. And fourth, and probably the most important, start pitching. Don't wait. Be shameless. If your first pitch ended well, you waited too long. You have to make sure you start talking to your customers, employees, vendors, and investors sooner than you wanted. And every time you end the pitch or your meeting, make sure you ask one question. What did you think about my pitch? What did I do well? And what could I have done better?
But Ritesh, who do I pitch? My mom doesn't have money. I don't want to hire my mom. She's not going to invest in my company. How do I find people to pitch my idea to? What did you do? I remember you talked about guessing people's emails.
I think one of the things that is a very important attribute of being a founder or an entrepreneur is to stop having the inhibitions of reaching out to people. What will people think? Will they say no to me? Am I going to have a rejection? You will have to accept all of these as possibilities and still pursue the ideas and opportunities around yourself. So yes, I talked about guessing email IDs. I used to use an app back in the day called Rapportive. You can essentially guess first names, second names, and company names, and reporter will tell you whether the email ID is correct or not. This is an example of the lengths that I would go to write cold emails. I used to write hundreds and hundreds of cold emails in order to reach out to people who I had read about, learned about, or thought that they could invest.
So let me get this right. If I want to guess your email, I would say, okay, ritesh.agarwal@oyo.com. That's like me guessing, or maybe ragarwal@oyo.com, or maybe just your last name at your company name, first name dot last name, or just first name at company name. Is that what you used to do to guess CEOs or investors' emails?
Yes. However, one of the mistakes that people make is send all 4 email IDs the email at once. That demonstrates you didn't put the work. So please ensure that if you're going to send 4 emails, send 4 of them separately. At least that's what I used to do to demonstrate to people I was writing that I wanted to demonstrate respect, that I put the time to find out your email ID and reach out to you and share something. And the way I used to write this email was first 2 lines, the problem I'm solving. Next 2 lines, why I think it's going to be big. Next 2 lines, what have I done? And the last one saying, I need your time, and I used to make a promise. The promise was, I promise to not take more than 19 minutes of your time.
19 minutes.
19.
I love that. Why 19?
I just thought that people will find that interesting, that somebody has really thought that 19 is a specific number of minutes that he or she needs. And there's no meeting that ended at 19 minutes. All of them took a lot longer than that. But that was just, I thought, a nice quirk, which I learned, which probably people would be interested about. When I started, almost no emails worked. There are a few that people would pick up, but it improved over time to probably 15 to 20% at best. So even at my best, I used to be rejected 80% of the times. And in few places, I'm actually happy that I got rejected, because when I was starting the company, I actually reached out to multiple hotel CEOs in India, and I told them, I don't think I'm good at this. So I want you to take this business up, and I want to come work with you to build this business. And none of them responded. So I'm frankly thankful in retrospect that most people didn't respond. But on the other hand, just remember that you're going to be rejected majority of the times, but the few moments where people are willing to give you time and engage with you, those are the ones that matter.
You did this to find investors and teammates at the same time, correct?
Investors, teammates, hotel owners, and customers. One of the earliest investors, angels, who chose to speak to us, invited me over and wanted to listen to my pitch. My pitch was fairly simple. It started with a problem that I encountered while living in a lot of these little hotels and holiday homes. It talked about the specific reasons of why I thought my solutions would solve the problems that these small hotels and homes encountered. I talked about the economics, saying that why I thought it will make money, that if I send a booking to them, they'll pay a fee because they need more business. I talked about the competitive landscape, that is, nobody was focusing in going deep in this specific segment. And in that, the way to stand out is to have 3 things. First is to demonstrate why you feel so passionately about the idea that you're pursuing. The second is to have absolute clarity about what you're going to do for the next 6 months. Remember, in your pitch, people are not being convinced about what you did before coming into that pitch. People have to be convinced about you being able to take that pitch and deliver something better into the future. So you need to have a view of the future, which frankly nobody else would have as close to as you do. So for instance, I was asked, how many hotels will you be able to bring to your platform in the next 6 months? I said, I have two sales guys who bring two hotels each. I'm not anticipating to hire more salespeople for the next 3 months because I want to keep improving my idea. Because of which, in the next 3 months, I think I would be able to add, give or take, 10 to 12 hotels. This is one of the many questions you'll encounter. And I have seen more often than not, a lot of times entrepreneurs don't have a clear opinion about the future. They say, once I get the capital, once you join my company, once you come use my service, that's when I will start thinking about the future. I would encourage you to think a little bit further ahead before you go and pitch.
So do your homework with investors, without investors, it doesn't matter. Just do your homework for yourself, and people can tell if you're authentic and you're a train that's going to the destination with or without them.
One of my mentors said, everybody wants to join momentum. Anybody who's waiting for investors to bring momentum, investors think that this entrepreneur is not really an entrepreneur yet. He's just an manager for the investors. And no investors want to invest in managers. Investors want to invest in entrepreneurs who are going to be successful no matter what. And investors can be successful as well if they choose to be a partner with such a successful entrepreneur.
Ritesh, does your pitch change when you're asking for $10,000 initial investment or $1 billion late stage investment?
So let me try and differentiate those in 3 different points about how does the pitch differ between when you're raising. My first round was $30,000 at a pre-money valuation of $140,000. So
wow.
Let me try and differentiate that pitch versus my last round was $1.5 billion of investment, and let me explain the differences between both of those. The first is the idea you wanted to build gets translated into a mission and a product that you're servicing. You need to show more proof points. People, when they're investing in a bigger business, want to see a lot more execution history versus when they're investing very early, they're willing to take a bet on just something that has just started, which is just 1 or 2 hotels. The second, being able to talk about proof points and data points is extremely crucial when you're talking about raising capital at a very large scale, wherein I demonstrate data of customer cohorts for the last 5 years, hotel owner cohorts for the last 4 years, economics and profitability improving in specific core markets over the last 3 years. Versus when you're starting, you don't have that history. So you have history for 5 weeks. So I talked about the 5 weeks and specific changes that have happened, but it's never as detailed as I can explain today. Before I conclude, let me try and call out a few hacks that will help you make sure that your pitches are better and you can bring new employees, raise new capital, and many others. Let's start with a few things I did. The first, I tried to learn from internet resources about other companies' details of how their pitch looked like. The second, I highly recommend you make a profile on angel.co. And you will find a wealth of pitches of so many companies around there. I would encourage you to make your own pitch to use the right format from angel.co. The second resource for you to watch out is people you should reach out to and the way to think about various companies and their opportunities. For that, I read news like TechCrunch, Hacker News, Reddit, and a lot of other resources which gave you access to industries and people who are the right ones to reach out. The third is once you know the people you want to reach out, more often than not in this new world, people are willing to share their coordinates with you, with technology and entrepreneurship evolving. But if not, find out the email ID write to people, make sure to be concise, and at the end, ask people if they are not interested to ask one of their friends or somebody they know to be able to introduce, and make sure that relationships remain forever. The people who I wrote cold emails to many years back, today I reach out to them again for newer business relationships, and we can have a good chuckle about having had that cold email that I wrote to them 6 or 7 years back. Now, go do your pitch and remember the 4 things. First, talk to people in the ecosystem that you want to pursue your idea for. Make sure you use it to be able to write it down, make it authentic, and I'm sure you will do it with other folks in the same cohort, which is pitch to each other. And when you start pitching, that's only when you get better.